Hello my friends, it's a little bit quieter today. They're just doing tile work. It might be a little bit loud, but it shouldn't be full-on New York construction zone loud. Let's do pinky mauves today. On Fridays, I try to do something a little sassy, but also not just absolutely feral. Sassy Friday, if you will. Let me clip my hair out of my face here, and I'm gonna put my hair behind me. My hair is a cape. It's a Kimmy Schmidt reference, if you've ever seen that show. Watched it many years ago now. Ooh, by the way, I put it back in here only because I want to film with it again. This lasted through dinner, popcorn, the lip liner itself really lasts, and that's exactly what I expected. But this glossy part lasted a good 4 hours, just like I wanted to. Gloss is never going to last like a long wear matte lipstick. I'm sure most of us know that by now. But that being said, I'm excited to wear it again. I kind of want to wear it again today. I absolutely loved it. Back in my clean canvas era, it's a good era to be in. I love this eyeshadow base. Now, it's not quite a concealer because it doesn't dry down the way most concealers dry down. And you can just get it so thin across the skin, but it's wildly pigmented. It's a little too emollient to use as concealer. So if you've ever wondered why I don't use it as concealer, I like something designed specifically with eyeshadow in mind. And I just feel like this is the perfect consistency for eyeshadow, because I also like a little bit of a tacky base and something that doesn't dry down, so it doesn't fully eat the shadows, because when something's too wet, it's just going to absorb all of the pigment. But then if it's too dry, well, you might have saw my last post. So y'all are so sweet about my hair. Thank you so much for the compliments. So my natural hair texture just really enjoys this. I don't have hairspray. I just have this kind of texture hair. But I would share the link for the wand, and that's what I used. I used a curling wand. But I fear I have had that curling wand since 2001. A Sally's wand or curler will do everything but go out. I really feel like there's something to this updated eyeshadow formula. I don't feel like it's just another eyeshadow. I feel like there's some innovation in formula. It feels like it's been a long time since I've liked an eyeshadow this much, as opposed to just my Viseart and the ones that I normally grab. But I'm really enjoying how soft and blurring the blend is. So I'm gonna take this shade. I'm taking it on the tip of the brush, but I'm gonna take a lot of it, not only just to kind of saturate all of this, but to really make sure that I'm setting that tacky eyeshadow base. That's the only thing you kind of need to think about with a tacky eyeshadow base, is to make sure that we're really setting it. But loading up the brush and then tapping motions, and we're good. Just like that. It's set, we're good. Then let's grab this shade on the tip of the brush. Even though this is the fluffiest brush in the collection, or in the eye collection, obviously, I'm still gonna get some pretty decent precision if I grab it on the tip of the brush and just push it into the socket. Perfect, I feel like that's dark enough. What I'm doing now is just kind of melting it into that very first transition shade. And this right here is a scar I have. Sometimes I know it looks like it's patchy, but it's a little scar that I have. Y'all want to know how I got it? Cat, many years ago. Cats. It wasn't even that bad, but it's such thin skin, even when you're younger, that I have that scar. It was worth it. I love cats. Okay, so I want to smooth out this area. I'm just gonna put shimmer on my lid. I'm not doing a cut crease, none of that. I'm just making sure this is nice and smooth. And just a little bit extra tacky. I'm gonna grab my C30. Wait, here it is. I'm so excited for this color. So beautiful. I'm gonna grab quite a bit of it. There we go. Brush picks it up so nicely. Gorgeous. And then I'm just gonna paint this one on just in the center, picking up more. a mild ruckus. I can hear myself think again though. Then I'm gonna take this color and just pack it out here and push a little bit into the sparkle. That is so pretty. And then just kind of soften it that way. So everybody loved my hooded eye trick that we showed yesterday to get a little bit of lift to the eye. So I'm not going to do any kind of liner today because I want to film that. It's very helpful. So no liner, but I am going to take this shade and I'm just going to put this one towards the front. That's so pretty. I'm telling you, I'm really enjoying this formula. And I don't want you to think that it's the most revolutionary formula or it's just, I don't know, no gas. But I do think that there's a difference here. I feel like maybe there's been some upgrades in eyeshadow formulas. And I really think that if you're in the market for an eyeshadow palette, I also like how small this is so we don't have to invest $90. I feel like that's how much palettes are in 20 colors. So I really, really like what's going on here. Okay, we got our half lash here. Lily Lash's Self-Adhesive. Love these so much. This is, normally I wear Wild Child, but this is Starcatcher. And even for a half lash, that's still kind of big. So don't even be afraid to trim a half lash. I'm not going to trim these. I think I'm going to be good because my eye shape is very, I got a lot of space here. From here to here, it's pretty much kind of on the same line. So I have a lot of space on my lash line to place a lash of this size, but don't ever be afraid to. But really quickly, if I was going to, which I'm not, I'm just kind of demonstrating, I'm going to trim from the front and I'm going to trim at an angle. It makes it more comfortable. First we place, I just have that one placed. She looks a little wonky, but what's happening is I'm letting it get used to the shape of my eye with my body heat, because even though I'm warming it up here, that's not the shape of my eye. So I'll just kind of place them and then I just wiggle them a little bit, kind of get them in the general direction, let it warm up another 30 seconds. Then we're just going to wiggle it here. What I'm doing is I'm wiggling it right on that skin and I get them pretty much placed and then we clamp. Lash applicators are really the key here. I'm gonna hop downstairs, have a little bite of cereal time, and then I'll be back and we're doing a whole tutorial. I'm back. So we're gonna try this out today, and I've worn it before. I wore it almost 9 hours. It wore fine. It wore like any of the other foundations. It wasn't anything just absolutely on another level of, oh my goodness, this is the best foundation, but it did not let me down. The only thing, this is the first time I'm wearing a shade that is going to match me, but we were looking at my talk through video the other day, and I looked back at it, and a lot of you pointed it out, that it was still leaving a cast once it was blended. So we're gonna put it on and take a gander at that. C42, do your thing. The match is really nice. I'm still seeing a cast. And then after this shade, if I was to even try to go darker, then it's just yellow. I think I am seeing a cast. Do you see what I'm talking about? And what a cast is essentially it'll look like gray or white. I'm gonna let this dry down and we'll take more of a gander. But it's really not too light. Look at how it's matching my neck. It's just, especially once I blend it out, it's not too light. Especially once it dries down. See how it's really matching once it dries down? But I'm still seeing something in the formula, which I think it's mica, which we talked about, I believe it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. Feels like I've lived 4 days. But I kind of think that that is what is leaving this cast. So I was saying, my last slide just wouldn't upload, so now I don't know where I'm at. But I wasn't going to put the foundation on top of my head because it is a little bit too light and because of that cast. And since my forehead has some natural sun there, that could just absolutely turn gray. And this is a really good tip if you have a darker skin tone. This is something really, really important. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take a peach corrector, much darker than my skin tone. See that? That's much darker than my foundation, but what that's gonna do is gonna add a little bit of warmth and balance. And this has been really, really helping me to avoid that, because I've been noticing that my forehead is a little bit, oh, that already looks so much better. And then we'll just put bronzer on top of that because it does get hidden. It's kind of like a pre-bronze, but it also is going to give the depth so it doesn't turn gray. I've been on a mission to use some of my older things that I've already had in my collection. I obviously used to love this NARS cream bronzer, so let's give this a whirl. How do I want to apply it? I know I haven't used it in a while, so I'm just going to warm it up with my knuckle. Just a little smidge. And then we could just take that and put it on the back of our hand too. But now that I know I have it nice and warmed up, I can dip in there, or I'm about to just use what's on the back of my hand. But these were pretty pigmented, if I do remember. What shade is this? Laguna 3. Picking it up on the C40. And I did just go ahead and pick up all of that, and I'm just going to start to stamp. And I know we were thinking that maybe we could have just put bronzer on top of the foundation. We could have, if we have a lighter skin tone, but if you have a medium going any darker than that, it can still turn gray. So that extra peach or that extra orange underneath is always a good idea. This is definitely pigmented. And I also want you to keep in mind, you don't have to warm it up every single time. It's just been a while since I've used it. I remember it has a very unique smell. It smells very tropical-esque, but then not full-on coconut. It blended out beautifully. And I can't wear this shade in the winter, so I'm excited to wear it right now. Very pretty. I definitely feel like this is a more pigmented, but then not wild. See, I mean, it's definitely, the pigment is there. And I feel like a lot of times I'm grabbing makeup and I forget that with these older formulas, we were really into some pigment. And y'all know I like makeup. Give me some makeup. I like pigment. I want to use this concealer. I like the look of it. It's very brightening, but I need balance or it's going to turn gray essentially. Using that darker shade that I already tagged. The Cali Ray, this is Daybreak. Where's my brush? I can just use this one. Can I? It seems to have ran away. There it is. C31. Just get it really, really thin. And then I just try to keep focusing it only where the darkness is. Don't worry about it coming down this way. It's really about where you have the blue, where you have the hollow, where the darkness is. And when I say blue, I meant darkness. So it doesn't need to come all the way down on the cheekbone the same way concealer does. Nice. And just make sure it's nice and thin. I'm even kind of pushing it upwards. Now, this, which I love the shade 2.5C and the Double Wear. This one is just, it's full coverage. And now it's not going to turn gray since we have that balance underneath it. Ooh, we're getting closer to fall. That means the C32 is going to be back sooner than we think. I cannot believe today is August 1st. I feel like July was like 4 years long, and now it's finally over, and now we're into August. Look how brightening that is. Looks like a filter. And then if you want to just kind of carve a little bit, just right here behind the ear. I don't always do this, but it kind of called to me. I'm not going to bring it all the way down, just a little bit through here. Whee! Ooh, lifted. I got too excited, and this is the Estee Lauder Double Wear concealer. This is their newest formula, and then 2.5C. The cool tones are actually really nice in this collection. And I feel that sometimes I don't always show this, but I just blended that concealer down, and sometimes I'll lose a little bit of the bronzer transition that I really want kind of as a base for the blush. So I don't have anything, I haven't added anything to this, but I'm just kind of finishing up that transition and going back. I feel like a lot of times what we're loving when we see professional makeup artist looks, it's all of the transitions and the layers. So you kind of come in and just like that concealer. I put it on, but then I might lose, see right there? I have a little bit of that concealer that's not nicely transitioned. So I just come back in and just hit it with a little bit more of that transition. So don't be afraid to kind of put it on, step back, look at it, and then go back in and blend it again. I like this. I forget how pretty that is. That blended like a dream, but there's more pigment than what I'm kind of used to these days. So I really, really like that. Again, see, I'm just going back in and I saw a little thing I didn't like there. There you go, blend it out. When you don't have powder on, you can always go back and just kind of rearrange within reason. Too much and it's gonna turn gray, but some little taps on the edges to get that nice transition, never hurt nobody. I mean, do I need to say anything? You know what? Somebody actually just pointed out to me that even, remember how I go through it a little bit faster than most people because of how much I film. But that being said, I mentioned 6 months, every 6 months, and they said, you know what? That would be just in time for the Sephora sale each time. So it's kind of perfect. All right, let's finish up. Get some powder. Make sure to swirl them all together. It didn't get here because my puff is old. This is why we need to replace our puffs. I was just making sure it got all the way there. Ooh, and then we're gonna go back and finish up the eyes because that, I know. I love how y'all think that I'm not just about to finish up with this color. Y'all know better. And it's always satisfying to watch this powder set. Oh, that's so fun. But remember, I'm not going to go on top of that cream bronzer. That bronzer actually dries down, so if you don't want to set it, you don't have to. But if you do want to set it, I recommend setting it with something in the bronzer realm, not going with a highlighting, brightening powder on top of it, because that is going to change the color. I need to do a video on that. Okay. See, imagine that, even what's left on there. I was saying, imagine that level of brightening on top of all of that. It's just going to completely change the color. Who is this diva? This was probably one of my most loved bronzers ever. I still love it. Look at how nicely. And I'm using a Whisper. This is actually a very pigmented bronzer. But all I'm doing is I'm taking the powder of it, if you will, and setting the bronzer. It also creates really beautiful dimension. And at the end of the day, really even airbrushed makeup is just a bunch of perfectly laid down transitions. Yep, I'm still seeing that cast. Do you see that? Now imagine that on a darker skin tone. I'm barely knocking at medium's door right now, okay? I'm usually light medium in the winter. And in the summer, I whisper at medium. So imagine a darker, any darker than that. And look at this cast. I mean, you can even see it. And I'm never a naysayer, but every ad that I've seen for it, if you don't have a super, super warm undertone that you're gonna see in these ads when they pop up, it looks so warm. I honestly don't know how the ads were approved. That's probably one of the boldest things I've ever seen. I mean, I've ever said, and I feel so sassy saying it, but it's really not, because I feel like if you're in makeup at all, you would notice. It would be like me putting on the yellow and then you seeing this redness in my chest, and it would just be that major contrast. So it's just interesting, and I was really excited for this foundation. And then someone mentioned that, this is actually a really good point, that the eyeshadow could sometimes pull the cast more, which I do agree. But I think I'm seeing it more if I hide the eyeshadow. Look at my chin. Look around my chin. Look at this. It actually reminds me of Mario's foundation, which I didn't like as much either, because there was so much of a cast on that one too, and it was so warm. and I was so excited for that one. Do y'all want to know how I generally pick blushes? Usually it's just whatever my makeup heart is desiring and whatever makes it sing. But if you're ever kind of just like, dang, I really don't know what to do. I'm sure most of y'all don't say dang like that, but that's okay. How I go off of this is, even if my transition is just super, super orange, right? You can hold up a blush and still find similar colors in that. So I'll kind of just hold up a blush next to this area right here, and I'll try to match it to that. It's not, I don't want you to overcomplicate it or make it really, really hard. Just hold up a blush and see. Let me just grab one. All of this makeup and I can't find a blush. Hang on. This is gonna be fun. And this isn't, it's not the only way. Nothing I do is the only way. Nothing, okay? But I'll just hold up a blush, hold it up. Ooh, which one? I'm seeing more of this color. I'm seeing more of this one. And then if you have a mauve shade like what I did, you could literally just open up your palette and see if you have a blush in your collection that's kind of in this range, and that would be a really good match too. If you're feeling very daring, if you have something this color, you could just use it as blush. That can get a little tricky because I don't want you to get too much. As the pan's small, it could be hard to pick it up, but it's an option. I have faith in you. I want to give you all the options. But I think we're gonna go with this shade. See it in there? It's there. Okay, so we're going into the shade. These pick up so much better, by the way. Oh, perfect. I'm saying compared to, remember they were much larger, they were pressed too hard. And the reason I'm going with this brush is because I wanted to kind of just put it right on top of the cheekbone. Yeah. So pretty and glowy. The blush, not me. Whenever I say that, I sometimes think about after I'm done and I'm like, oh my Lord, do they think I'm calling myself gorgeous? I mean the makeup. I want to put this on again. I just feel like it's going to be so pretty with this eye. You know, like I said, I bought this off TikTok shop and I was kind of hesitant, but this is a really good find and I really, really like it. The only thing I know is going to be a little difficult is this is pretty chunky and there's no way to sharpen it. Well, it has this little blur, but that's kind of the idea. Sometimes it's more of this blurred edge of a lip. So it's more of a style. I like a sharp lip line, but I could just clean it up with a brush. But I like explaining why it's even this big, because sometimes we could look at that and be like, oh my gosh, no, but it really lends itself towards a certain style. Lip liner alone is gorgeous. Then you go in with the lip balm, and this kind of gives a little extra color, but then also some blur. So pretty. I feel so cute. And then you top that with the gloss. I don't make the rules, but I sure do enjoy them. Ugh. And then this is a true gloss. So it lasted. And then it's so pretty with the eye. I need an E27 stat. Y'all ready? So this has a little bit of a green flip, so do keep that in mind. It's not just a pure white. There's going to be green in here, which you will see. Well, you kind of already see it right there, but it is translucent. So you're gonna see your skin behind it, but there is green. I'm putting green on, okay? You'll see it with back camera in a second. That is so pretty. Okay, we're done. I love this look. I love any kind of pinky mauve. I feel like it's just always, it's impactful, but then it's still so soft. I feel like depending on what lash you feel comfortable with, this would be such a beautiful bridal look. All right, my friends, I love you all so much. I am going to post tonight. It's going to be an ad for the Laura Geller sunscreen that I love so much. I'm so excited to post it. I do use a lot. So it's the 2-finger, but I even put extra because I always take my SPF down here because I'm already so sensitive there. So I feel like sometimes we need a little reminder. Sunscreen doesn't stop here. I like to take it all the way down, especially if I'm wearing a top that's like this. So if you see a lot, we know that I don't do clickbait, but it kind of looks like it. After I filmed it, I'm like, wait a second. And I didn't mention that it went on my chest, but I labeled it. But I feel like y'all get it because we're literally story family here. I love you with all of my heart. I'm going to just put a notify there. It just tells you when I post what I'm doing, what's going on. So if you'd like to not miss the story tutorials or the reels, I would hit that. I love you, and I will see you later in my post. I'm back to yap just for 1 second. You can definitely see that cast here too. Anytime the light is not directly hitting it, you start to really see it. And I film with a little obviously stronger light so you can really see kind of pores and all this stuff. So imagine just being out in natural lighting where it's not just harsh lighting. You're gonna see all kinds of cast. So I really was excited about this foundation, but I can't with all that. Now I spoke my piece. Bye for now.